your boy RJ. I'd like to thank everybody who watched my last video and gave me a lot of feedback either in the comment sections or through Reddit or through social media. Before we get into today's topic, I want to remind everybody to please like, share, and subscribe to this video. And with that said, let's get down to business. Like the title says, there's only 3 things you need to get into the military. You need to be morally eligible, mentally eligible, and physically eligible to be in the military. Now let's break down each one of those topics. Let's talk about being mentally eligible to be in the military. In order to be mentally eligible to be in the military, you have to have at least a GED or a high school diploma. But there is an exception for high school seniors. If you don't have a high school diploma or a GED, but you have a certain amount of college credits, that can also take place of a high school diploma, and you should be able to enter the military. Additionally, you have to be able to pass the ASVAB. For the Navy, the minimum score as it is today is a 31. The ASVAB is divided into 10 sections. They are general science, word knowledge, math knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, electronics information, auto shop, mechanical comprehension, assembling objects, and verbal expression. But the 4 most important parts of the ASVAB are word knowledge, math knowledge, paragraph comprehension, and arithmetic reasoning. The overall score, or AFQT, you get from your ASVAB is actually only taken from those 4 sections. So when I say the minimum score for the Navy as it stands is a 31, that 31 comes from those 4 sections. The other 6 sections of the test are used for placement. How well you do in those other sections just determine which jobs you're eligible for. But the 4 most important parts of the ASVAB are those 4 sections. If you score over a 31, you're eligible to join the Navy. If you score above a 50, you go in a different category called Category A, or upper test category. If someone scores a 50 or above, that means that mentally, more jobs are open to them than those who score between a 31 and a 50. It doesn't mean that you're dumb or stupid if you score a 31 or above. It just means that you have higher opportunities for more jobs if you score a 50 or above. It also means that a lot of the technical fields in the Navy open up to you. To summarize, to be mentally eligible to be in the Navy, you have to have a GED, a high school diploma, or be a senior in high school on track to graduate and have at least a 31 or above on the ASVAB exam. The next topic I want to talk about is being morally eligible to be in the military. To be morally eligible, it means that you have no open court cases, civil or otherwise. It also means that you haven't been charged or convicted of any serious crimes. What do I mean by serious crimes? Felonies. There are some exceptions to joining the military with some felonies, but the waivers for that are few and far between. So having a felony doesn't necessarily knock you out of being in the military, but it is extremely hard to get into the military with a felony. Also, if you have misdemeanors and you have several misdemeanors, it will also be hard to get into the military. It may not disqualify you from being in the military, but it may disqualify you from having certain jobs in the military. With that, any traffic convictions are also taken into account when joining the military. If you have too many of them, it may disqualify you from joining the military. One thing to keep in mind is that your prior drug use will also be taken into account when joining the military. It may not necessarily disqualify you from joining the military, but it may disqualify you from having certain jobs in the military. For example, if you want to be in the medical field, you're going to be around drugs and narcotics all the time. If you have a history of drug use, the military may not want to let you have access to all that stuff. So you may not qualify for that job. You will be taking a drug screening when you process for military entrance. If you have any civil cases open or any traffic tickets open or pending any investigations, you cannot join the military until those are closed. When all of your cases are closed, or if you have prior convictions, you need to bring all that documentation to your recruiter in order for him to process it and let you know if you're eligible to join the military. The background check that the military does is very in-depth, so they will find anything that you have to hide. So the best practice is to not hide anything and be upfront and honest with your recruiter about your history. And the third thing you need to be able to enter the military is to be physically qualified to be in the military. How do we determine that? We send you down to the MEPS, or the Military Entrance Processing Station, in order to do a medical exam. It's kind of like a physical or sports physical, if any of you have ever done that. They're going to check you from head to toe to make sure that you're perfectly healthy. They check your reflexes, they check your heart rate, your pulse, they check your vision, they check your hearing, they do a blood test on you as well, and that's where you do the drug screening. If you have things in your medical history that may be disqualifying factors, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be disqualified from the military. What that means is that you need to bring your recruiter your medical documentation relating to that medical issue. For instance, if you've had surgery before, you need to bring all those documents from that surgery to your recruiter. What your recruiter will do is he'll submit those documents to the military entrance processing station doctors. Your recruiter is not a doctor, so he can't make a determination on whether you're medically able to join the military or not. So he'll submit your medical documents to the doctors at the MEPS. Those doctors will review your medical documents and determine if you're eligible to enter the military. The military can do a medical background check on you. You actually sign a release saying that you'll allow them to look at your medical history. If they see that you have something in your medical history that you didn't disclose, you could be subject to something called a fraudulent enlistment and then discharged from the military. So make sure to be honest. You may not qualify to be in the military physically, but your health is the most important thing. You don't want to go off to boot camp and maybe injure yourself or possibly die. With having good medical history, you also have to be within height and weight standards. You have to be under a certain body fat percentage in order to enter the military. Even if you're not within that body weight standard, you can still start your process by taking the ASVAB exam. But you won't be eligible to enter or actually enlist or do your medical exam until you're within that height and weight standard. I'll put a link in the description for the height and weight standards for the Navy. Several people come into my office and ask me if you have to do push-ups, sit-ups, a run, swim, or pull-ups in order to get into the Navy. In order to join the Navy, you just have to be medically able to join the Navy and within the height and weight standard. Before you ship out to boot camp and after you enlist, there is a requirement to be able to do a 1.5 mile run. But if you're able to do a 1.5 mile run in under 14 minutes, you should be fine. And lastly, I have one additional requirement for joining the military. We talked about the mental, we talked about the physical, and we talked about the moral. But we haven't talked about the financial. If you have too much debt, or if you have a bad credit history, that may disqualify you from joining the military. Some people can still join the military with debt and bad credit history, but it may disqualify them from certain jobs. So if you score really high on your ASVAB and you have a great medical exam and you're morally eligible to join, but you have some issues on your credit, you may be disqualified from joining the military. The reason that is because you become a risk. Let's say you're thousands of dollars in debt and a spy from a different country comes up to you and tells you, I can pay off your thousands of dollars of debt. All I ask is a couple of documents. A lot of people will be inclined to give those documents up in order to have financial freedom. The military doesn't want to take that risk. So if you have debts, they want to see that you're actually paying your debts off. Debts won't disqualify you from joining the military necessarily, but they want to see that you're paying your debts off. People that join are also eligible for something called the Service Members Credit Relief Act. I'll put a link in the description to describe that a little more in detail. But pretty much it helps you financially to prepare for the stringent duties of being in the military. So don't think you can run up that credit card or have a car repossessed or be in collections and think you can join the military. And with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys have any questions or something that I haven't covered, please leave it in the comments section. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Peace.